the effects of maternal exercise on the cardiovascular outcomes of offspring. So to begin, cardiovascular disease is the leading cause of death in the United States. They suggest that maternal health habits can have a large impact on the cardiovascular health of offspring. In a study that used animal models, they've shown that maternal undernutrition can lead to central obesity, hypertension, insulin sensitivity, and reduced levels of activity in the offspring. However, there is limited data on the effects of maternal exercise on the cardiovascular health of offspring. We do know that in adults, there are hemodynamic changes that occur during exercise that can lead to reduced cardiovascular disease risk. And there are similar hemodynamic changes that are seen in the fetus during maternal exercise. For example, in offspring whose mothers participated in strenuous activity during pregnancy, there was a reduced IMT in the offspring. And IMT is intimate media thickness, and this is a good indicator of cardiovascular health. So in these offspring, they were less susceptible to cardiovascular disease with a reduced IMT. The purpose at this point in the study is to examine the model that we've chosen to use, which is exercising pregnant swine. And the purpose of the overall study, which there's a lot more still going on in the study, is to investigate the effects of maternal exercise on the cardiovascular outcomes of offspring. And we hypothesize that maternal exercise will lead to reduced susceptibility of the offspring to atherosclerosis later in life. So we began with 21 female swine, and at the beginning, they were a little more difficult to handle, so because of this, we excluded 5 from the study. So we started with 16, and they were given 4 weeks before the exercise protocol began to adapt to the treadmill, the scale, and us. And in the 2 weeks before the exercise protocol began, they were each given a progesterone in their food. And this was in order to induce the ovarian cycle. 5 to 9 days after the progesterone was discontinued, they were each checked by a board, and when heat was confirmed, they were each artificially inseminated. Following artificial insemination, we used pseudorandomization to split them up into either an exercise group or a sedentary group. 1 month into the exercise protocol, we were able to use ultrasound to see how many were successfully impregnated. And this eliminated 7 from the study. So now we have 5 in the exercise group and 4 in the sedentary group. So what the exercise group did was walked on the treadmill 5 days a week, and the sedentary group rested in the scale adjacent to the treadmill, so they weren't getting any extra exercise. After each exercise session, they were given 7.2 pounds of food, and we used fig Newtons for positive reinforcement and a kettle prod for negative reinforcement. Okay, so at this point in the study, we know that I'm trying to give a presentation. Okay, so at this point in the study, we know that exercise has had no negative effect on the success of artificial insemination. And if you look at that first graph, you can see that time has increased over the 5-week period. And in the second graph, speed has stayed the same. So we increased time in order to increase the exercise intensity rather than increasing the speed. In the first graph here, it shows the average weight of the pigs of the 2 groups, and both groups had increased weight over the 5 weeks. In the second graph, it shows the percentage change in weight, and the gray bars are the sedentary group, and they have actually had a higher percentage change in weight. And this is expected because the caloric intake between the groups is the same, and the exercise group is burning more calories, so they're expected to gain less weight. Also, positive reinforcement and caloric intake are similar between the 2 groups, but negative reinforcement was different because we really had no need to give negative reinforcement to the sedentary group. So at this point, we do know that our model that we've chosen to use is viable for examining the cardiovascular health of offspring, and we're hoping that future results from the current study will give us more insight into the effects of maternal exercise on the cardiovascular health of offspring. Thank you. Okay, I'm ready. Yes.
I was getting caught in the minutia of studies. What is pseudo-randomized? I've my mouth. And oh, students supposed to ask questions first? I'm sorry. Forget about my question. You can come back to it later. All right, sorry about that.
That's okay.
Breaking protocol.
Yes.
So like what kind of other studies were done besides the ones that like led you guys to do this?
Well, there have been other studies that looked at the effects of exercise on offspring, but not so much in depth as we're going with this study. This is really a preliminary study. There haven't been studies done that looked at what we're going to look at. So this is kind of the start to a bunch of other studies that we're hoping to do. So yes.
Why did you have to give positive reinforcement to the sedentary group?
Well, we wanted to keep that equal between the two, and they're all pigs and they're all difficult to deal with. So in order to get them where we wanted to go, we kind of had to give them a little bit of reinforcement. So that's kind of what we did there. Yes.
What made you choose pigs?
They actually have a cardiovascular system that's very similar to humans, and pigs have been shown to work well when looking at exercise. Our pigs, however, are farm pigs, and they're not the easiest to exercise, but it's worked so far.
Want to try Dr. Krovet's question?
Okay, so the pseudo-randomization was a new term for me also. We can't really say that we completely randomized them. Some of them were a little more difficult to get going on the treadmill, so they were kind of tossed into the sedentary group. So that's why it was considered a pseudo-randomization. Yes?
On the graph that, you go back to the graph.
How this works.
Okay.
We had the wrong thing.
Oh, okay.
One where you showed like how the increase in time on the treadmill. So how come there's error bars there? Each pig increase differently?
Actually, yeah, all the pigs were different. Actually, my pig is a terrible walker. She slips all the time and it's just a pain. So yes, they all were kind of different. The goal was to get them each exercising 45 minutes total, and they're actually all doing that now. So, but it took a little bit of work to get them there.
So how did you know, this is probably a stupid question, how did you know when, because they're in a cage, they can't like get off the treadmill, right?
Right. Well,
So how did you know when they were done? Or when to shut it off, or when, how did you
well,
know
we have a
when they
timer
should-
that we'll set. So what we actually do is right now the protocol is to have them exercise 15 minutes at a certain speed, 15 minutes at a higher speed, and then 15 minutes at the first speed again. So we'll set the timer for 15 minutes and then 15 minutes, and the treadmill's going the whole time. So we just use a little knob to increase the speed, and
Oh, no,
we
I
turn it off.
understand that. I guess that's quite, how do you determine, like, oh, this pig needs to go up by this much, and this pig,
Oh, we
this pig
kind of
only-
just use our own judgment. I mean, if they're struggling to run at 3.7 miles per hour, then we'll bring them down a little bit. It's not always exact, so we just kind of do what we can to get them to do what they need. Anything else?
I might not be invited back, so there's no RPE scale for pigs yet. That's going to be
We might be able to have one, no, but right now there's they're all actually panting at the end though. We hose them down with some water to cool them off, and they're good.
But at least you can confirm that pigs don't sweat.
Yes, we can. They're dry, completely dry.